I was on TikTok recently, which is always kind of a bad idea, and I came across a new genre of books that I've never read before, and that is dark romance. And I knew upon hearing of this genre that I was gonna fucking hate it. So I decided to pick out 4 books from the genre and I'm gonna make myself read them. So we have, I don't know what all these are about. We have Hooked by Emily McIntyre, Corrupt by Penelope Douglas, There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark, and last but certainly not least, Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. I kind of hope that I hate these so much that I love them, if that makes sense. Like, I'm hoping I'm gonna have a lot of fun reading them, even though I think they're gonna be bad books. And yes, I did spend my money on these books thinking I wouldn't like them, but I'm here for the plot. So, I think I'm gonna start with Hooked. This is the only one that I know anything about. What I do know about this book is that it's a retelling of like Captain Hook from Peter Pan, but it's a dark romance. Allow me to read you the first paragraph on the back. James has always had one agenda: destroy his enemy, Peter Michaels. When Peter's 20-year-old daughter, Wendy, shows up in James's bar, he sees his way in. Seduce the girl and use her for his revenge. It's the perfect plan until things in James' organization begin to crumble. Suddenly, he has to find a traitor in his midst, and his plan for revenge gets murkier as James starts to see Wendy as more than just a pawn in his game. I mean, come on. Come on. I can't. So I'm definitely going to be starting with this one, because how can I not? And I will update you once I've read it a little far. I'll update you once I've read it a little bit, and I'll let you know my thoughts, and we'll see how this goes. See ya then. Okay. I am 6 pages in and I already have things to say. Well, me and Saphira have things to say. So first of all, it starts off with a nice little playlist. Why isn't it focusing? Oh, it's not gonna happen, is it? What the fuck? I tried. But the playlist includes 21 Pilots, Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber. I mean, like, maybe it's just me, but I just find it really cringy when they include a playlist in a book. Oh wait, my camera needs to come down a little bit. That's better. I just think it's cringy when they include a playlist in a book. I don't need to imagine the author listening to Justin Bieber as she writes. I'm sorry if you like Justin Bieber, but come on. Second comment is that the first little prologue is like the main guy killing his uncle, and it's just so silly already. Like, let me read you the first couple lines. Once upon a time. It feels different than I thought it would. Killing him. Come on. It's just like him trying to be so tough is so funny. And then at the end it says, now I'm one step closer to the one responsible for everything. And this time, he won't be able to fly away. And then you get into the first chapter, which is from Wendy's perspective, and she's talking about her dad, who's like Peter Pan. And he owns the biggest airline in the world or whatever, which is just so funny that they made Peter Pan like an airline owner. But it's even weirder because like he's an airline owner, but then his daughter's like, his power and influence reach every corner of the universe, and there isn't anything or anyone that escapes his control. Like, yeah? An airline owner has that much power? I get being rich does shit, but like, it doesn't really make sense. So those are my initial reactions. I honestly just burst out laughing as soon as I read the first couple of lines. I'm having a great time. I already think it's really funny. I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of comments to make, so I'll see you again soon. My hair looks crazy. Let's ignore that. I'm back. And I'm back with Saphira, who's purring like crazy right now. She's so sweet. Okay, so I've made quite a bit of progress. I'm on page 170. Figured it was time to kind of summarize the book for you. So essentially we're following our main characters James and Wendy. James is like this killer. I don't even know what his job title would be. Like, not like killer is a job title, but he works for his friend Rufus, and like they kill people, but they're also responsible for this drug called pixie dust. So they're just crazy guys, I guess, is their title. So the first scene is literally James like killing his uncle, and that's like the prologue, and then it goes on. And then we're following Wendy, who's the son of Peter Michaels, I think is his name. And unbeknownst to Wendy, Peter Michaels is James' like enemy. And that's because James's father used to do business with Peter. And like I said, Peter runs this airline. And I guess his family, James is British, because of course he has to have an accent. And I guess like his family visited the States, and then they were flying back to England on a private jet from Peter, and it crashed. And all of his family died except for him. And he blames it on Peter. We don't even know like if Peter actually did that. The only evidence that he might have is that like shortly before the crash, his father read a note from Peter and his face got so pale. So that's that. So Wendy is Peter's 20-year-old daughter, and she walks into James's bar one day, and James recognizes her instantly, and he's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna fuck with this girl just to piss her father off. Is essentially what it's coming down to. Like, he wants to kill Peter, but for some reason he just wants to seduce Wendy and use her for revenge first. So that's the premise of the book. This book, though, is just so fucking silly. Like, the fact that it's based off of Peter Pan and Captain Hook is ridiculous. James is called Hook because he kills people with a hooked knife. So there's that. He lives on a ship. So there's like one joke where she's like, does that make you a captain? And he's like, yes. So he's Captain Hook. And just the fact that Peter owns like an airline, so he's like flying. Oh yeah, and then James's group is called like the Lost Boys. It's so funny. Like, I don't know if it's intending to be funny. Like, I think the author's just genuinely trying to like weave the source material into her story. But it's hilarious. And this is like, I don't think it's a spoiler, because I'm only halfway into the book. If you don't want to hear anything about this book, just skip forward until after I put this book down. But essentially, I'm at a point in the story where like they've already fucked, because obviously this is a romance book, a dark romance book, so there's gonna be a ton of unnecessary, very long erotica scenes. They've already fucked, we've gotten that over with a couple times, but something happens. I'm not gonna like completely give a spoiler. Something happens to someone James knows, and all of a sudden he's like, maybe Wendy is in on it with his father, like maybe her innocence is just act, and it's just so stupid. It's just so stupid, because like he knows Wendy at this point, and she doesn't seem like she's involved with her dad's like shenanigans, and it just seems like it's kind of thrown in there to give some conflict when it's not believable at all. So that's the minor spoiler. I'll put the book down so people can tune back in. I gotta say, like, not a terrible reading experience. I think I'm just having so much fun with it. And again, I don't know if that's the author's intent, because I feel like this is like a serious dark romance book, but to me it's just so funny that I'm liking it. I won't say the writing's amazing, but I won't say it's the worst writing I've ever read either. What I consider bad writing is writing that like is so bad it takes you out of the story. And maybe it has taken me out of the story a couple of times now that I'm thinking of it, just because the things that they say are so silly. And sometimes, like, in her effort to make James tough, she just makes him say the funniest things. I'm gonna get back to reading this. I honestly, like, could definitely finish this by tomorrow. I'm already more than halfway through. So let's find out what happens next. See ya. Hi, we're back. Remember how, like, 5 seconds ago I said the writing wasn't that bad? Well, I've been paying a little bit more attention. And let me read you this line. My brain was scrambling like eggs. What the fuck? What does that mean? Like, Vera doesn't like it either. I'm also just having thoughts on this genre as a whole, because like this man threw a chair at her, he like pulled a knife on her, he's like threatening her brother's life. And even without that stuff, just the fact there's like these graphic scenes of him like killing people and like threatening people, and there are people who read this and are like, oh yeah, that's so hot. Like, you need to go to therapy. You need to work with a therapist on that, because that's not healthy. Like, not to be judgmental, but I am being kind of judgmental. I just don't see what the appeal of that is. Like, I don't know, I can understand and the like, okay, I don't personally understand, but theoretically I can understand the whole like attractiveness of the like obey me, I'm your master kind of stuff. Like, I can see how some girls could be into that, but like to the point where he's killing people? I don't know. I'm being judgy, but I think I have a reason to. And I'm just gonna keep reading now. Okay, I know I just left, but I had to come back right away. I needed to read you another line. Part of me wants to throw her back in the JR's basement and let her rot. It's no less than what she deserves. The other part wants to tie her to my bed and use other means of forcing the truth out of her. This is your love interest? Like, your love interest is talking about raping his romantic interest? I'm fully justified in being judgmental. This is disgusting. Can't wait to finish. I keep leaving and then coming immediately back. I gotta read you another quote. This is something that he is saying to Wendy's father. Okay, so like, they're at this gala. Wendy's there with Hook. They see Wendy's dad. And then he like gets a salad and he puts a cherry tomato in his mouth and like eats it. And then he goes, I hum, I do love Poppy a good cherry. Oh! Oh! Ew! Ew! That's all. Ew. At this point I should just leave the camera on so you can capture my like genuine reactions. But come on, like, it's the same scene as what I was describing before. Someone asks Wendy, how did you two meet? And she goes, he already told you, didn't he? Wendy cocks her head. He popped my cherry. Ah! 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 No. Sorry that it's kind of dark now. It's like 8 p.m. so I just got my ceiling light on and it's not very effective. But I finished Hooked. Final thoughts, I'll say, I saw one of the big twists coming. I feel like the author gave like way too many hints towards it, so it was just super obvious, and it seems stupid that the characters didn't recognize that it was gonna happen. In addition to that, just in general, I hate this man. Like, I hate him. I think he's so cringy. I think the references to Peter Pan are so fucking funny, even though it's supposed to be a serious book. What else? I think the main character, James/Hook, was just so fucking stupid, and he's supposed to be like this criminal mastermind, which makes it even more funny that like the stuff he's overlooking just makes him so dumb. So I think it's pretty obvious that I'm gonna give this a 1 star. I considered giving it 2 because it did have a lot of entertainment value just because of how silly it is, but considering that the author wasn't like trying to make it silly, I figured that wasn't really a fair rating. So I'm done with this, and I'm going to be moving on to just the next one in the stack because I didn't know which one to pick up, and that is Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. I will say this book seems like it's like kind of thick. How many pages is this? Oh my god. It's nearly 500 pages. The worst part is that I'm gonna read Haunting Adeline last because that is the one that was like most shelved as dark romance on Goodreads. That's how I chose these. I went to the Goodreads shelf and chose some of the most popular. So I'm saving Haunting Adeline for last, and that one's gonna be like 600 pages. Like, that's a chunky book. So this is like the second most chunky, so I may as well get it out of the way. I know nothing about this book at all. Let's get into it. Okay, I literally just sat down to start reading Corrupt, and I haven't even read the first page yet, but I need to share with you that there's yet another playlist. Like, what is it with these types of books and the playlist? And like, not the Black Veil Brides, not the Papa Roach, not those things being on the same playlist as Florence and the Machine. What is going on with these people? Why would you want a playlist in a book? I don't want to know about your bad music taste. Like, I'm sorry. I don't. Anyway, I'm gonna actually start the book now. Hi, it's the next day, hence why the lighting has improved and I'm wearing a different outfit. I am on page 72 of Corrupt. I forgot the title for a second there. So I figured it's time to do a little check-in, and also just because there's some shit I want to say. But first I'll summarize what's been going on so far. So we're following our main character Erica, who is very close to this one family, and she even dated, like, this family, oh my god, I'm doing such a bad job already. This family has 2 sons. One is Trevor, one is Michael. She's always been very close to Trevor. She dated him briefly, but she's always been obsessed with Michael, and she's like just fawning over him at every opportunity. So the book follows 2 different timelines. One is 3 years ago, and then one is the current day. In the current day, she's broken up with Trevor. They did briefly date. And she's going off to a different college. She's transferring, which just happens to be in Michael's city. She happens to be in the same apartment as him and everything. And then 3 years ago, apparently Michael was like on the school's basketball team, and there's this whole thing with like the members of the team wearing like masks. And there's this one day where after they had graduated, they came back to the school and they grabbed a ton of students and they like went off campus and had this party. And unbeknownst to Michael, Erica sneaked into the car and is at this party with them. And in the current day, there's all these references to that night and references to Erica doing something that made all of Michael's friends go to jail. So in the current day, they're talking about like getting revenge on her and like ruining her life because she made them go to jail. We don't know what happened. That's all. That was a really bad summary, but I think you got the gist. What I wanted to say is that I'm currently reading from the perspective of that night 3 years ago, and Erica has just made herself known to Michael, and he like blindfolded her and had her stand in this room, and one of his friends came up to her and was like sexually assaulting her. Like he put his hand on her ass, he like put his hand in between her legs, and like and then he like forced his mouth onto hers, and she just bit him really hard, so he pulled away. And she was blindfolded the whole time, and then she finds out moments later that Michael was in the room the entire fucking time. And she talks to him about it and says, like, you shouldn't have been okay with it, like what his friend did. And he says, toughen up. You're not a victim, and I'm not your savior. You handled it. End of story. She was sexually assaulted. Like, it's not like your friend was just, like, flirting with her and she turned him down or something. Like, this is your love interest? Like, I think this is the problem we're just gonna have with books in this genre for this whole video, is that the love interests just aren't shit. Like, I'm sure that as soon as some romance happens between them, he's gonna be like super protective and like that, but why would you like a guy who just sits there and watches as his friend sexually assaults you? Someone explain that to me, because I don't get it. But maybe I'm just not into dark men. I don't know. Maybe I just like a decent guy. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, that's it for now. I don't know how much reading to get done today because I have class tomorrow, so I have a ton of reading to do for school. But I will keep you updated once I have some more thoughts to share. Goodbye. Okay, I'm on page 298, so I'm over halfway through the book by now. Well, I'm like 2/3 of the way through the book right now. I've gotten to the point where like they're committing their revenge on her or whatever, and again, like, they want to take revenge because they're convinced that she's the reason they all went to jail, but we still don't know if that's true or what happened, and she doesn't seem to know what's happening. But one of the ways they're taking their revenge is by making her think she's going to be raped by all of them. I don't even have, like, words to talk about that. Like, what the fuck? This is your romance interest? The guy who's like about to let all of his friends rape you? Or is at least making you think you're about to be raped by all of them? That's disgusting. What the fuck is wrong with people who get off to this? I can't understand like anyone who would read this book like uncritically and be like, yeah, I think Michael is the one. I think Erica should end up with Michael. Oh god, Saphira has come to give me comfort. She also doesn't like this book. I will say, it's written, I'm not gonna say it's like written well, but it's written really entertainingly. Like, it's kind of addictive to read. You just kind of keep going and see what's gonna happen next. Oh good, Colleen Hoover recommended it. She said as gripping as it was sexy. So that's great. I don't know, that's all I have to say. I just like, I'm bamboozled. What a word. I'm bamboozled. I don't understand how someone would read this and seriously root for this romance, and how that person wouldn't have issues. See your therapist if you think this is romantic. That's fucked up. I don't know. Me and Sophia are gonna go back to reading now. Goodbye. Okay, I've finished Corrupt, and I don't really feel like I have anything else to say. Like, these dark romance books are all the same and they're all so bad. Again, the shittiest love interest ever. Like I said, he was like willing to let her think she was about to be raped by all of his friends. He just, because he had this idea that like she betrayed him, it was like he wanted to ruin her entire life. It was just so stupid. Again, similar to Hooked, like the big twists weren't really that surprising. I kind of saw them coming, and once again, I'm rating this 1 star. But again, like 1 star because it's not a good book. Like, come on. But at the same time, it is entertaining, and I can't deny that. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm like gasping and like laughing as I'm reading it, so it's having an effect on me. It's just not quality literature. So, who knows? Maybe the next one will surprise me. I think next I'm gonna pick up, it's not I think. Next I'm gonna pick up There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. No idea what this one is about either. I know this is a duology. This one also is a series, but it does kind of like end on a note that can be an ending. So I'm glad there wasn't like a cliffhanger or something. This one I'm worried it's gonna end on a cliffhanger because it is a duology, but here's hoping that it doesn't. And this is much shorter. This book is only like 250 pages, so I'm gonna be totally fine. So yeah, I'm gonna get to reading. Well, actually, I'm not gonna read anymore tonight, probably. Maybe tomorrow I'll update you, but tomorrow I'll be in class for 12 hours, so maybe not, but we'll see. See you later. Hello, I'm back. And so is Saphira. I don't know if you can hear her purring, but it's so loud. You're so loud. I'm sorry. Just a quick little update. I'm only on page 14 of There Are No Saints. So far, you're following this like famous sculptor who lives in San Francisco. And it's just like, the thing about these books is that reading from the male perspective in each of these books has been like the exact same. It's like every single sentence is made for him to sound like tough. Like, ugh. Oh, also, need to mention this right away. Soundtrack! Once again, what is it with these books? And they're always like the weirdest fucking music too. Like this. This is only on page 14, so this isn't a spoiler. I'm not killing Danvers because I have to. I'm killing him because I want to. He was an irritation, an inconvenience, a worthless, sniveling, envious shit stain. He deserved nothing more than this. In fact, he should be honored because I'll make more of him than he ever could have made of himself. And then it just talks about him killing him. It's just kind of exhausting to just be reading from this point of view over and over and over. I don't really understand the appeal of this point of view or like why people like these books. It's just annoying. So annoying. And I really don't want to read this if I'm being honest. Especially today, I was at school for 12 hours. I come home, I don't want to read this. Like, surely that can't be my only option, but it is. Because I'm devoted to this. At least this one's pretty short. I think this is the shortest of the bunch. And then I have the longest one for last. So that one's gonna be so much fun. So I guess I will sit down and read some of this and I'll update you again at some point. Probably not tonight, but at some point. So wish me luck. Hi. It's the next day. I'm 78 pages into There Are No Saints. So I figured I'd give you a little bit of an update on the plot. So essentially you're following our two main characters, Cole and Mara. Cole, like I said, is this famous sculptor living in San Francisco. Well, they're both in San Francisco, so I don't know why I mentioned that. But his secret is that he likes to kill people. And apparently he's not the only artist in San Francisco killing people, because his biggest competitor's name is like Alistair or something like that, Alistair Stark. I could be getting that wrong. And one day, as kind of a way to fuck with Cole, Alistair captures Mara because he thought that Cole was like interested in her, and he like slits her wrists and leaves her like practically naked right in front of where Cole disposes of his dead bodies. And Cole, seeing her there, just kind of like leaves her there and walks away. but Mara actually is able to get loose and she goes to the hospital and gets help. And then after that, Cole does become actually interested in Mara and now he's like stalking her. So that's what's been happening. Can't say I'm a huge fan of the plot yet. There's also, where is it? There's also like illustrations. Like, I don't really think we need an illustration of him stalking her, but maybe that's just me. I just think it's like a weird book to have illustrations in. And then at random points, like in the text, there's like a little music note and then it has the name of a song and you're supposed to like put the song on at that moment. It's supposed to be like a soundtrack, which I guess is like a fun idea, but I still just think it's kind of cheesy to be including like your music in the book, because everyone's music tastes are so vastly different. It's just a bit much. So yeah, I'm not loving this. Can't say I'm having particularly a fun time reading it. I'm just so sick of these male characters. I'm so sick of them just like constantly talking about wanting to kill people and talking about how tough they are. It's so boring to read after a while. I don't understand why people like this, but that's just me. Everybody's different. I have to go to class now, so I don't know how much more reading I'm going to get done today, but I'll update you when I have something to say. Goodbye. Okay, well, I finished There Are No Saints, and like I don't even know what to say. It's not good. I can't tell you how sick I am of like reading from this male perspective where he's like a murderer and he thinks he's so cool for being a murderer. Or like reading these like super graphic sex scenes where he was about to kill her but then he decided not to. Now they're gonna have sex instead. Like, I'm just so tired of it. I don't want to read it anymore. I have one book left, and that book is Haunting Adeline. And this book was like the most popular book on Goodreads for dark romance, so I really should have high expectations. The issue with this book is that it's very small font and it's 600 pages. I'm gonna get to reading and I'll update you at some point. Goodbye. Okay, so I'm 46 pages into Haunting Adeline and I have a couple things to say. First off, we get yet another playlist. I don't even know if you can see it because it's on this dark page, but it's there. And then, after that, is this really fucking weird, important note that says, none of these conspiracies derive from belief in anti-Semitism or QAnon, but from my own demented imagination, common conspiracies in the media, and many occult horror movies my dad used to watch growing up. Excuse me? Like, why do you need to put a little thing in the front of your book saying that you're not an anti-Semite? Like, what is in this book where people were accusing you of anti-Semitism or being like a QAnoner? So that honestly makes me very interested in what's happening. It also says this book was previously taken down due to the warning, because it lists like content warnings. So I'm like, what the fuck is gonna happen in this book is that bad? Which has me a little bit intrigued, to be honest, but also kind of scared. So anyway, the book is scaring me a little bit, to be honest. You're essentially following this girl who's like this famous author, and she lives in this big old Victorian house that was left to her by her grandparents. And currently someone keeps like breaking into her house and like leaving her roses. And she keeps getting the feeling that she's being watched, especially at night. And as someone who is currently in a house alone, it's spooking me a little bit, I can't deny it. But also we got a scene from the male's perspective, and it's just as exhausting as every other fucking dark romance book's male perspectives are. It was like a scene of him like torturing and killing someone, which is oh so original. It's such an original way to start a dark romance book. I feel like every single dark romance book I've read has started with a scene like that by the guy. So it's like so unoriginal, just so annoying to read. Like, I'm so sick of reading the perspective of these men. And yeah, I think I'm being a little bit of a bitch about the playlists and stuff like that because it is like a fun little addition to a book, but I just don't like it personally. So I'm gonna complain about it because this is my channel. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts so far. I'm gonna keep reading, even though I just desperately want to read anything else but this, to be honest. And this book is like 600 pages long, and I feel like I'm never gonna finish it because the writing, I don't know if it can like actually show you. The writing is so small. Yeah, the camera is not gonna focus because why would it help me out for any reason? The writing's so small, the book is so fat, and it's just, I just don't want to read it anymore. which feels a little whiny, but I'm gonna whine. So I'm gonna get back to it and I'll update you when I have something else to say. Okay, I have another update. I'm on page 344 and this book just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Saphira, I just came home and Saphira's like desperate for attention. So if I'm looking down, that's why. Essentially, like I said before, she has this stalker, he's like watching her. She's finally come like face to face with him and obviously she has to be attracted to him for no reason. I read the worst scene that I've ever read in my entire life on public transit this morning, and that was a scene in which the stalker fucked the main character with a gun. Actually, I take that back, raped the main character with a gun because it was not consensual. And I had to read that on the subway this morning and it was awful and it was embarrassing because I kept worrying that someone was going to like be reading over my shoulder and that's what they were going to think I was reading. Well, I was reading it, but still. And just like as a whole, I just feel like this book is very disrespectful. I mean, like, stalking is a real thing that happens to real people, and it's never taken seriously, and the police never do anything about it. And in this book, it's just romanticized. Like, he rapes her, but it's okay because she comes. Or, like, she's actually attracted to him, so it's really not that bad. And it's like, I'm sorry, but, like, there's people who have actually been sexually assaulted by their stalkers. And the idea that you're having this whole book about how, like, hot that is fucked up. And the idea that, like, you have this whole book about how hot sexual assault is fucked up. I can see why this book was taken down previously, because it's just fucked up, to be honest. And I'm only, like, I just passed halfway through, so I still have a good chunk to get through. And I really just don't want to be reading it. So, with that said, I'm gonna get back to reading it. See ya. Hello, I have finally finished Haunting Adeline. Oh my god, am I so excited that I am done reading these dark romance books. Like, I can't even explain how free I feel, how sick I was of these books. Like, it's remarkable. Book review, I'm giving it 1 star. I think this was potentially the worst of the bunch. Just with, like, the rape scenes, just with the, like, falling in love with your stalker, it was just so bad. So disrespectful, so offensive, and just kind of stupid, too. Like, the idea that the love interest is actually a good guy because he's the secret mastermind that saves children from being trafficked. And, like, the way that she framed human trafficking was stupid, too, because you know how you see those Facebook posts that are, like, the new tactic that traffickers are using is putting a piece of paper under your windshield wipers so when you get out of the car to take it off, they get you. Like, that's not how human trafficking typically works. It's usually someone that's very close to you. It's not usually this secret society. It's pimps. Like, I'm taking a class on human trafficking right now. And honestly, most of human trafficking is, like, forced labor, which they don't talk about at all. It's all child sex trafficking in here. So, I don't know. I just thought this book was so stupid. I'm so excited to never pick up the sequel. I'm so excited to get rid of this book and never have to see it again. And those are my thoughts. Overall, the dark romance genre is not for me, which I knew going into this, but I was still giving it a shot. I think the funniest part of it is that every single one of these books had a fucking playlist, which again, I'm not trying to be a judgmental bitch, even though I kind of am one. I just think it's stupid. They all read the same from the male perspective, at least, when he was just trying to be tough and, like, broody and, like, ridiculous and murdersome. And there's just very little originality in these. I guess, like, the Captain Hook one was pretty original because that's just a crazy idea. But it was still, at the end of the day, like a retelling. Overall, I would not recommend any of these books. I think if you are into these books, then, like, congratulations. It's nice to read books that you like. But also, like, maybe take some time and, like, think about it a little bit. Like, why are you interested in this? Why does reading a rape scene turn you on? Just maybe think a little bit. Maybe go to